Hi friends, and welcome back to Dr. Pepper and Friends, where grit, grace, and wholehearted living come together. Today, I'm excited to share something a little different with you. If you've ever struggled with anxiety and burnout and fatigue, or even those nagging, achy kind of feelings that you just can't quite explain, you already know these are just things that don't leave your mind. They show up in your body. They can make you feel stuck and discouraged and sometimes even ashamed. But what if part of the answer wasn't just in medication or talk therapy, but in reconnecting your body and your brain in some simple science-backed kind of ways? Well, today I am joined by who has become kind of a new friend. Her name is Naomi Watson, and she is a board-certified physician assistant with a background in biology and neuroscience and just kind of a curiosity for how all the puzzle pieces of the human body fit together. Now, she doesn't just write prescriptions or treat acute illness. In fact, she doesn't do any of that here at the Pratt Clinic. Instead, Naomi uses things like a myofascial release, targeted supplements, and are you ready for this? Sphenoganglion blocks, SPG blocks. That's a mouthful, so I don't know if I pronounced that properly or not. She also uses red light therapy and other ways of just helping people feel calmer, clearer, and more in control of their own bodies. So whether you're here because you want to learn to understand anxiety better, or maybe learn about some innovative treatments, or just hear about how curiosity and compassion can work hand in hand, I think you're going to love this conversation. So if you haven't already, just so you'll know, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. You can look those up and link up with the audio only if you prefer. And if you're listening on a podcast and you want to see this on YouTube channel, then you're also welcome to do that. But please subscribe in either case, so we'll know who's out there and who's paying attention. And we have some exciting conversation coming up for you right now. So let's head on over to the office studio and meet with Naomi. All right, and welcome in. This is Naomi Watson, and she is a new friend to me and to the Pratt Clinic, but she has recently come and joined us in our practice, and I'm so excited that she is with us today because we're talking about something that's kind of a little different from what we've talked about in the previous 3 episodes on trauma and anxiety and those kinds of things, and this is a part of Naomi's role here with us at the Pratt Clinic. And one of the things that Naomi loves is puzzles and people and science. So how does that kind of all fit together, and how does that feed your passion?
Well, first of all, people everybody's different, but yet there are similarities. And when you start to see the same similarities over and over, you wonder why. People who have not been well served by the standard healthcare community, I always wonder why. What about it? I believe everything has an answer. If we don't know, it's just because we haven't found the right answer. And so it's always a bit of a challenge, but also it is just part of my nature to find the answers, to look for the answers, to say, well, we know this doesn't work, so if this doesn't work, let's quit trying it, let's try something else.
Yeah, a lot of people may not realize that even medicine, like any other science, there's just a lot of trial and error. Let's see what happens if we do this, right? So what inspired you to move kind of more toward away from kind of traditional prescribing medicine to more of a holistic approach?
I noticed that a lot of people with pain, particularly fibromyalgia and pain that could not be ascribed to a specific source, that a lot of them had traumatic childhoods. And I discussed this with my brother, who's been a physician for 40 years, and he said he too had noticed a similar pattern. And that began to raise the question of, does this cause that, or is it just happened to occur in that way? But then if you look into things like chronic fatigue and ME and things like that, you do see more and more of those people who have complex PTSD or a history of childhood trauma, and there is definitely some connection there.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about in the previous episodes, just talking about trauma, how it sometimes hides. It hides in our bodies, it hides in our psyche, it hides in our spirit even, and often shows up in times that may lead to an over response. It may lead to drawing conclusions that aren't based on facts necessarily. But it also shows up in our body. So it shows up through things maybe like fibromyalgia, but like anxiety and trauma can show up in other places in our body too. Can you talk a little about where you see that happening?
I see it happen in headaches. I see it happen in gastrointestinal stomach issues, IBS, it hides there. Muscle aches and pains without really knowing why or really having a reason. It also shows up that in the ways we self-medicate, and in food. The standard thing is, the woman going through a breakup eats half a gallon of ice cream, but there's actually science behind that. That act does boost serotonin, which is a neurochemical that helps us calm down a little bit. Doesn't last real long when you get it that way, but it actually does do that. So there are reasons for a lot of our maladaptive behaviors, but they can be addressed in another way too. First of all, I want to say that I believe the only way through is with therapy, with psychotherapy, but I think a lot of times we're so trapped in our bodies that we can't move.
Yeah.
Also, when we're inflamed, which happens when we have a long-term stress, we develop an inflammation in our body, and it takes energy to manage that because it's a little achy. It's not what we would call pain, most of us, but we're just not right. But it does take a lot of energy, and that energy is taken away from our ability to move psychologically.
Yeah, I mean, all the studies kind of point to, they measure the effectiveness of therapy, the effectiveness of like psychotropic medications, and therapy gets you better, it keeps you better longer. Medicines get you better sooner. Putting them both together gets you better sooner and keeps you better longer. But then there's also, and really the whole function of even psychotropic meds is just to help your brain get to the place where it can lean into therapy and consider some of the changes that need to be taking place. And this is just another way of helping your body to relax and to prepare it for some of the changes that are needed on the inside.
It gives you less battles to fight, because most of us are fighting this battle up here, but we don't realize that our body is draining some of those resources. And that's what it's for, is to basically just calm the body down so that you can have more to fight the other battles with.
Now, we have a psychiatric nurse practitioner on staff, but that is not Naomi's role. Prescribe medicines, and then that's not really kind of your area of focus. But you have some other things that you help people with. You help people with myofascial release, which is hard for me to pronounce, and then the SPG block. I said this in the intro, tried to pronounce it there. You're going to do a better job this time. And then also light therapy, red light therapy. So help us to understand a little bit about those, what those entail, how they help people.
In myofascial release, when you have tension in your body, whether it's actual just tensed up habitual positions that we're in a long time, whether it's the way you sit on the sofa and watch TV, or the way you sit when you're scrolling on your phone, or the position you have to have at work due to the type of work you do, there is actually kind of a sticking together of the muscles. We actually do get stiff, but that's not a permanent thing. So myofascial release is just where generally it's hands, but I do use red light to help loosen things up. And it's just to kind of help get you physically unstuck, so the chemicals can flow better, the electricity can flow better through your body. You feel better. A lot of times people they sleep better, they wake up the next morning, they're not as sluggish. It's good for a host of things. The SPG block stands for sphenopalatine ganglion.
That's the one,
yeah. I know that. I paid for that when I went to school. Anyway, they have been around about 120 years. The reason you haven't heard of them is back in the 50s and 60s, we entered that time where we wanted a pill to do everything. And so they kind of fell out of favor, and we had pills. And of course, we see how that has turned out now. A lot of people are trying to get away from that. And so what a sphenopalatine ganglion is it's just a little bunch of nerves that are kind of in your nose right about here. You got one on each side, and they filter the impulses coming from your brain, particularly the fight or flight ones are the ones that we're interested in. And they also filter some going up. But what we do is we take a syringe, a little skinny syringe, and a little tube. It's just really skinny little tube, and we put it in your nose. It's not a COVID thing, so I don't go all the way up to your brain. And put a little bit of lidocaine in there, just a tiny bit. And you hold your head there for about a minute, and then we do the other side. And what it does is, in most people, almost immediately you feel just a relaxing. Some people, you can take a little bit longer, and sometimes people don't realize it, but they'll say, well, I'm not sure I feel anything, but I will point out how much slower they're talking or how much more relaxed they are in their chair. And then we talk about ways to maintain that calm. Some people haven't felt calm ever, and some haven't felt it for a long time, so it's usually a surprise, a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and she did this to me, okay, so I will just say, when you hear syringe and tube up your nose, it's a soft, very soft end to it, and it's not like a COVID
it is not.
test. Because
I go up to here.
I had those done a couple of times, and I have a pretty sensitive like gag reflex with that kind of thing. And when she did this to me, it was very pleasant. It was very soft and tickly. That's the word that we used, is a little bit tickly, but other than that, very pleasant. So if I can take it, anybody can. So. So we've heard of some of these things. Tell me a little more about red light theory. Is that the same kind of red light that's like in an infrared sauna?
It is. There are some differences, but all red light is not the same. Some people will go to the spa and have it done for their skin, and that is a red light that just barely penetrates. The kind that I use penetrates the body to a couple of inches, and it does help energize the mitochondria there. Now, you're not going to get up from there and want to go chop down a tree or clean your house immediately, but it will help muscles relax. And when the muscle relaxes, you're no longer spending energy holding it tight. So you actually do feel better. You feel calmer, because when your body's tense, your brain goes, oh, it's tense, I must be scared, I must be in danger. But so when your body relaxes, your brain goes, oh, everything's okay. That's some of the two-way communication that happens.
Naomi, I know one of the things that you really want to help people with is for them to feel like they're in control of their own health. And what would you say are some ways that people can start to feel more empowered just in their own healing?
The first thing is to realize that you have a great deal of control over what's going on in your body. And I say this, I have good friends who have long-term conditions, but they can feel better. You can have more. What you eat, what you put in your body, which most of us do by habit, affects greatly what goes on in your body. And we talk about what people's habits are, and then simply ways they can improve them. I'm not a dictator. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what could be done. And I believe in long-term change. So not immediate, go home and throw out everything you like. That's just not my approach. My approach is, pick one of these 3 things that you told me you do, and which one would you like to do less? And we talk about practical strategies for the individual, for you, not something that worked with, with Marianne or Ralph, but stuff that for your life, the way you're busy, you've got kids, you've got a job, you've got 2 jobs, you run a farm, whatever. There are always ways that would work for you, and that's what we talk about.
So you make specific recommendations for that are customized, okay, for nutrition and also for supplements and other non-pharmacological treatments. So can you say a little more about that?
Sure. One of the things that I'm big on is just moving our bodies in different ways. So we'll talk about some stretches you could do. I'm not going to give you 5. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 that are targeted toward correcting the imbalances in your body. They're easy. I show you, you do them, and then I tell you how many, and it's not like 50 a day. The other thing is supplements. As you and I talk, then I'll ask you questions, and it usually becomes pretty apparent the things you need. But I'm not gonna suggest 15 at once. I might suggest 1 or 2, the ones that I think would be most beneficial to you right away. And then at a later day, we may change how often you take them or the strength you take, depending on your response. But it's always about how you are responding. It's not me doing the cookie cutter approach, because we're not. We're all very individual. And generally the people I see come to see me because they've tried other things and it hasn't worked, or they don't know what to try, or they don't even know if they really can be better. And those are the people I love to see, because I enjoy hearing their stories, hearing about their lives, and then helping them find solutions to get them to a better place.
Well, Naomi, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you are with us. And if you want to have some time with Naomi, you can give us a call at 731-660-0199. And you may want to mention something about a consult.
Yeah, if I know for a lot of people, this all sounds kind of new, and you're not sure, and you go, well, I don't know if that would help me. And for those people, if you want to call that number and say, I would just like to come talk to Naomi about that, we offer a free consult. It takes about 15 minutes, and you can come and talk to me and tell me your problem, and I'll tell you if I think I can help, and I'll tell you if I think I can't.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much. Stick around. I've got a little bit more just on the other side of this. And you're going to have another free thing. So free things are good. Free consults and free downloads and all of that kind of thing. So thank you a lot, and we'll see you next time. Naomi, thank you for sharing your expertise and your heart with us today. Now, if you're listening and you've been carrying anxiety and fatigue, or just that feeling of being stuck in your own body, please hear this. You're not broken. You're not weak. You are a whole person whose body and mind are designed to heal and to adapt. And sometimes it just takes trying something new, whether it's a simple supplement, a hands-on therapy, or learning to trust that your body isn't the enemy. If you'd like to learn more about working with Naomi at the Pratt Clinic, you'll find all the details in the description below, and just give us a call. And remember, healing is possible, especially when you approach it with grit and grace. Those work together to bring wholehearted living. So make sure you subscribe and don't miss out on our next episode. In the next couple of months, we have some new friends that we're going to meet. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about boundaries. We're going to talk about estranged children from their adult parents. I'm so excited about some of the content that's coming in the next few weeks. So this is Dr. Pepper and Friends, and thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you again soon. And it is time to go fishing.